Coming up next on This Week in Google, I've got my buddies Aaron Newcomb and Gina Trapani joining me in Leo's absence. We're going to talk about the Amazon Fire Phone and the nail in its coffin, the class war of high-end versus mid-range devices going on right now, Google and China, and so much more. Stay tuned. This Week in Google is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com.
This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 317, recorded on Wednesday, September 9th, 2015. Deal with it. This Week in Google is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to 100+ job sites, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter with a free 4-day trial now at ZipRecruiter.com/twig. And by the Ring Video Doorbell. With the built-in HD camera and microphone, you can monitor your front door from anywhere in the world using your smartphone. It's like being home, even when you're not. Right now, get $10 off the Ring Video Doorbell when you go to ring.com/twig. And by lynda.com, the online learning platform with over 3,000 on-demand video courses to help you strengthen your business, technology, and creative skills. For a free 10-day trial, visit lynda.com/twig. That's lynda.com/TWIG. It's time for This Week in Google, or some people call it Twig. My name is Jason Howell. I am filling in for Leo, who is in New York. I believe he's at a meetup right now. He's in New York for a few other things, but he's partying down with Paul Thurrott of Windows Weekly and a whole lot of other people, probably some fans there as well, I would imagine. That's kind of what it was all about anyways. I'm happy to be back. I love filling in for him when he's gone, and I've got my A-team here to back me up. Well, one member of my A-team is gone. Jeff Jarvis, he's in Vienna right now. I checked in with him like an hour ago, and I was like, so do you think you're going to make it? He's like, I have to wake up in 4 hours, so no, I don't think so. So I guess I forgive him. But in his place, we have not one but two amazing people to fill in. First of all, sitting to my right here, Aaron Newcomb. How's it going, man?
Good to be here. You said A show. I thought you were going to say the double A show.
See, what you'll realize very quickly when I introduce our next guest is that this is pretty much everybody from All About Android, minus Ron Richards. Also joining us, Gina Trapani. You just heard her laughing. How's it going, Gina?
Good. I heard that Leo was doing a meetup in Manhattan, and I'm here in Brooklyn, and I was like, oh great, I'm gonna drop that on the calendar, and then I was like, oh, I'm doing Twig during that time. All right, oh whatever. I'll catch up another time.
Everybody else bailed on today's shows, so I would have understood anyways. But
I'd rather be.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to have you here. It's awesome that I could get you both on the hook, and then. Well, normally I switch the show. I'm usually the technical director, but instead we have Brian Burnett, who is normally the technical director of All About Android. So it really is like All About Android during the day.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the same people, except, where's Ron? I'll try and get him on Skype.
Yeah, if you could, please. I'm sure he's not doing anything. He just started a new job, by the way, so I'm sure he's not busy. You could pull him away from his new duties and throw him on a podcast. So I'm not going to lie with you guys. I was looking through the content, throwing it all together in the doc. We were all kind of working as a team to try and fill out this doc. There is not a lot of news, and I'm sure you can guess why. Apple had their big unveiling today, probably their biggest event of the year. So why don't we get that out of the way? We don't have to talk a whole lot about Apple, and I know a bunch of people just rolled their eyes when they heard me say that. But I feel like... Including you? Okay. I'll be completely honest. I wasn't paying, even though I was producing Mac Break Weekly, I was not paying attention to the actual devices. So I'm a little bit clueless. Gina, I know you were kind of watching in Safari. I saw that on Twitter. Was there anything that really stood out to you? Anything that made your ears perk up?
It was funny. I was curious to know what you think, Jason, because you were like one of the few people in my life who has been sort of untouched by the reality distortion field, relatively.
I'm so untouched that I'm clueless.
Right. Yeah, that's
I'm sorry to say. I mean, there are a couple of things, but I'm curious to hear what you have to say first.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that the event today did kind of inspire some gadget lust for me. Particularly, the thing that I was particularly taken with was the 3D touch on in the new iPhones, and particularly and the pricing that leasing an iPhone where you can kind of pay $32 a month, get an unlocked iPhone, you get Apple Care, and you just swap it out for a new model every year. I was like, oh, that's something I might want.
You're paying that directly to Apple. That's not through the carriers.
Yeah, you're like leasing a phone, right? Not like a carrier. It's not a plan. So it's an unlocked phone. You have to get your own plan, which I do. I have a T-Mobile, plan that's pay as you go, and I pop my SIM in and out of different phones, which works with unlocked phones, which works really well on the Android side. And I think I should be able to do that with one of the new iPhones. So I found the kind of stylus and the soft keyboard amusing because it seemed like something that Apple would never do, but Apple kind of added their own touches to it. And I got to tell you, watching that pen, the Apple Pen on that screen made me think like, wow, I really want to try that. The pressure and sliding the pen to the side, it looked kind of neat.
I mean, this video is like Apple to a T as far as their product videos are concerned. Super close up, rack focus. The pen is gliding over the display so slowly but accurately to portray an artistic image. It looks pretty impressive. Is this very different from what we've seen? Like Samsung has the Note tablets and it has the S Pen. That's not. Are there layers? Are there layers with the S Pen? I feel like if you pressed harder with the S Pen, you get a thicker.
I think you do.
But I don't know if that's necessarily
my Shield works like
3D touch or whatever
my
it's
Shield
called.
works like that. The Shield came with a stylus, and so the first thing I did, I'm not an artist, so I gave it to my daughter, and she was playing with it, and she drew some pretty cool stuff with it. So there's obviously a market there for this. And as the technology marches on, I think more and more people are comfortable working in that sort of a medium with a tablet and a stylus. And so I think that there's definitely interest there. That was the thing that caught my attention, even though I really didn't know about it until I asked Tony right before we started the show. I'm like, what happened with the announcement? He's like, oh, there's a cool stylus. I was like, awesome.
Which, by the way, I think is something, it's one of those hell freezes over moments.
Yeah,
Stylus
absolutely.
coming at, that Apple is like super behind because I think the thing with Steve Jobs was always the best stylus that you have is your finger. That's the only stylus we're going to do. So,
but but I think this is, a lot of people used back in the day, since I'm an older person, a lot of people used Apple products for artistic endeavors, more than they would use a PC. And so I think this, in some ways, this is like going back to their roots a little bit, kind of going towards the artists. In the past, it's been video production people or other things, but now, reaching out to those people who want to draw. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool, and it's unique. And that's the thing that I point to, no pun intended, is, that so much of what happens is just iterative anymore. And I don't know about the phones. I they added an S. I guess that's a good thing.
That must mean something. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's a new OS or something. But it's all iterative, right? And at least with the stylus, it's, that's kind of, new, clever, and they're doing some different things with it. And so I don't know. I always look to those kinds of things as being the things that kind of set these things apart, as opposed to just new phones, faster processors, bigger tablets, whatever.
Yeah, for me, it was very much a testament to Apple's marketing. I don't know if it's the way they present it or the commercials or what it was, but, I've seen plenty of tablets and devices with styluses before, and I always thought, I looked at this one today and thought, like, oh, I really want to start drawing. Everyone who watched the keynote today was like, oh, I'm going to get one of those, and then I'm going to start drawing, and I'm going to be really good at it, right? Which is just a testament to Apple's marketing and the way that they're able to make something that exists cool and new, kind of in a whole new way. The Apple TV was also kind of interesting. There were some features of Apple TV that was just like, I don't want to know what the weather in Alaska is when I'm in the middle of watching, Mad Men. But there are a couple of interesting features. The one Apple TV feature I really liked is if you're watching, you can say to your remote, what did she say? If you miss something that someone says in the show, and it automatically skips back 15 seconds, turns on closed captioning temporarily, and plays back what you missed. And that's like, oh yeah, that's something I do when I watch TV that I haven't seen before. That's a very human, natural interaction. So Yeah, I thought there was some interesting stuff there today. It made me think about M and or I guess Marshmallow, now we call it. And kind of what I'm looking forward to there and what I would like to see. I definitely like I said, the 3D touch in iOS. How you touch a little harder, you press a little bit more pressure, and a part of the in iOS, a fragment or a message or a photo pops up. And I really like that they have like pop and peek, and Android has something very similar. There's several apps where you long press and it initiates an action like that. But I really liked the way how smooth it looked in iOS and how nice it looked. It made me really want to try it. I don't feel that way that often after Apple events. I'm usually like, whatever. But today I did.
Yeah. It's interesting. 3D touch is what was once Force Touch. So I'm wondering, if that extends beyond. Huawei actually, and I just put the link in. I didn't have this in the doc, but it's in the chat area. Huawei at what was it last week? Why am I suddenly blanking? In Berlin. Anyways, whatever. Huawei showed off their Ascend Mate S. They have actually integrated Force Touch into their display as well. So when they showed it off, it can do things like. You could use it as a scale. In other words, you could actually put the phone on a table, set an orange on top of it, and it'll tell you how much the orange weighs.
Oh wow!
So and this is Huawei. Huawei suddenly is this manufacturer that I feel like we're going to continue to hear more and more about. It's rumored that they're going to have the next. Yeah, there we go. Fruit on a phone. It's rumored that they're going to have be involved with the next Nexus that we'll hear about at the end of the month, likely. Right. So this is probably ramping up to be a big year for Huawei, but interesting. Kind of an entry for Force Touch or that type of technology on Android coming from Huawei. There, who knows if it's just gimmick along the lines of some of the gimmicky things we've seen some OEMs do to try and move devices, or if it's actually something that everybody's going to want. And if that's the case, I think it's probably going to take a couple of years before they figure it out very well. And who knows how it compares to Apple. I personally, like I said, I'm very clueless when it comes to Apple devices. I just haven't used them very much. And I don't know or understand from a use perspective how earth-shattering Force Touch or 3D Touch actually is. But it sounds cool. I wouldn't mind that in all my devices.
It looks neat, I am tempted by the new iPhone, but I'm waiting for the Nexus 5. So I'm on the market for a new phone, my OnePlus One. That there's a strip down the bottom that it's breaking. It's not working anymore. So I'm ready. I'm holding on. It's that time of year where you put up with your cracked screen and broken touchscreen just another week because there's going to be a new phone announced, and I think it's going to be the Nexus, the new Nexus, the Nexus 5, 2015, whatever it's going to be. I'm really looking forward to that, and I want to see what that's going to be like. So
well, and not only is it a new Nexus, you actually have a choice, which is potentially a big differentiator this year versus other years, which is that there will be not one but two Nexus devices introduced, the Nexus 5 by LG, and then the Huawei Nexus 6 successor, which I think is actually 5.7-inch display, fingerprint reader, all that kind of stuff integrated in. So it's an interesting month. This is totally hardware season. We're in the midst. It's like the leaves are about to start turning colors, and phones are going to start dropping out of them.
That's right. Yeah. The phones are ripe. They're ready to be picked.
Exactly. And I'm ready to pick them and maybe review a few of them while we're at it. So, okay. So then this seems like a perfect segue into kind of one of the topics that Gina, you had expressed interest before the show about chatting about. And there's kind of like I don't know if it's a hardware class war or something along those lines brewing, at least in terms of Android phones. Apple, obviously, clearly, they are committed to the high end when it comes to hardware. And we've seen a lot of high-end hardware in Android. Samsung has reveled in that with their S line of devices. HTC has their 1M. 9 was the latest one. That would be definitely their premium. Higher end devices, LG G4, all of those. Second quarter of last year was actually not a very good year for high-end Android OEMs. None shipped more handsets than 1 year ago, and none of those OEMs made more operating profit than 1 year ago. Samsung's S6 performed pretty poorly, supposedly. The G4 didn't sell very much. Sony has a rocky kind of experience in the U.S. to begin with, but I guess theirs have been pretty dismal. And now HTC, the big news with HTC is that its stock was removed from the Taiwanese TWSE 50 index after seeing a share price drop of 66% in the past year, which is just kind of crazy. Now suddenly, like, and we heard a little while ago that HTC's monetary situation is that they're worth less than their stock is worth, so their company is basically valueless. So suddenly we're seeing the floor kind of drop out from all of these premium smartphones. So I don't know. It kind of feels like there's a sea change going on, at least in the world of Android. How can on one hand something like Apple be a brand that exists and revels in kind of the high end, but then you have Android kind of struggling in that regard? How's that happen?
Well, I think it's following the PC trend. I mean, the same thing happened with PCs, essentially, where you can go out and buy a $250, $300 desktop or netbook or Chromebook at this point. And people are willing to just go do that, unless there's a small niche, of course, moderate-sized niche for gaming enthusiasts and things like that are willing to go pay to build a high-end machine. There's, of course, the server enterprise market that's different. But for consumers, everything just got so commoditized, and the applications that were being written weren't necessarily driving the need for faster and faster hardware at the core. So it's like, hey, I've got a phone, I don't have to pay the big bucks to get the features I want anymore. A lot of the middle tier phones are coming with decent cameras now and plenty of features. My wife is a good example of this. She does not need a high-end phone, and she doesn't want a high-end phone. She just wants one that works reliably through all her kerfuffles that she does with her phone, it seems like, every day. And she just wants it to work. Like, I just want to go to Maps, have the maps work. As long as it's working, I'm okay. I want to check my mail, and I want to play Words with Friends. And I don't need a high-end phone anymore. And I think a lot of people, we're at that point now where, the curve is kind of starting to level off in terms of what people need and what people expect. And so there's nothing really driving companies, I think, to produce that high-end phone. And there's no longer demand, or as much demand, I would say, for people that are willing to go out and shell out $600, $700 for a phone when they can buy one for $300 that's just as good.
Yeah. Then that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Now, you're in the market, obviously, Gina.
Yeah,
do you find yourself gravitating towards the higher end, or do you feel satisfied with what you're seeing kind of in this mid-tier of devices?
I mean, I personally would spend extra money to get a premium phone, but I don't know what that phone would be. Like, I mean, I want to go with Nexus because I want the latest Android stuff, and I know that Google has worked with the manufacturer to sort of, make this reference. What the Nexus still feels kind of like a reference device. Take advantage of all of Android's new software features, and so. So I'm going Nexus for that reason, but on the other sort of higher end devices, Samsung devices, they're just not interesting to me. And this is just because, this is also just because I have sort of a nerdier bent, and I'm more interested kind of in the software than the hardware. But I don't think that anyone's quite owned the high end market for Android, and it feels like part of the reason why Apple has been able to do it as well as it has, its amazing marketing aside, is because it owns both the hardware and the software and can do these sort of coordinated launches like they did today, these announcements. And this was, the S is an incremental kind of upgrade for them. It's that, that off-year upgrade. And still people, it's like, this is the thing that you want. This is the thing that you have. This is the, this is the one choice. But having all the different choices, and I think that, I think that having other choices that are medium, the OnePlus One certainly isn't high end, right? It's kind of a mid-level phone. But there are times when I'm like, I really want like the camera that's going to give me a great photo every single time and not make me think about it. So I am willing to spend that extra money. I don't think there's a clear choice for the folks that do want to.
Yeah, what I feel like, IFA, that's the word I was trying to find earlier, in Berlin from last week. What we're finding in this trend is right in the sweet spot seems to be like $250 to $400 unlocked. You got the Asus Zenfone 2, Alcatel One Touch Idol, the Xiaomi Redmi Note 2, if you can get it. That's actually around $168 US. The OnePlus 2 for $389. Moto X Pure, which everybody's raving about, that's only $400. There's the new Blue Pure XL, that's at $349. And check this out. So this is my Nexus 6. this has been, considered a premium phone for not even a full year at this point. It just saw a price drop to $349 for the 16 gig models, $399 for the 64 gig model. So,
which is a great deal, I think.
Oh, that's a fantastic deal.
I think they were $699 when they came out. Is that right?
What's that?
If I'm remembering correctly, they were $699.
Yes, it was upwards of $600 some odd dollars. It was expensive.
Yeah, so I've got mine too.
Suddenly threw Gina a curveball, didn't we?
I'm like,
Yeah, this is a great phone. I've been noticing lately. I haven't upgraded to 5.1.1 partly because I'm unlocked and rooted, so the upgrade process is a little bit harder for me, harder in general. And I just haven't bothered with it. But I have noticed like the battery life on this is somehow getting better. I don't know what it is.
And you don't have any of the developer previews for M.
No, I'm not running M. I'm just running 5.1.0.
Yeah.
And I keep noticing, like I go to bed at night, I haven't had it plugged in all day. I turn it on, I'm like, oh, I've still got like 30%.
Isn't it weird
battery,
how it fluctuates so much?
Yeah,
I don't know why that is.
And and the thing is it's usually it's when I don't use it. Of course, it's when I don't use the screen as much. It's when I'm listening to music with the screen off or something like that. But this is great. I think I was so glad to see that they lowered their price. Not only because that probably means the new models are coming out for sure, but also just because for people that are looking for a good phone, it's a great phone to pick up for that price. I think so.
Of course, if you do that, then you're buying into what is soon to be, like in less than a month probably, last year's model of Nexus phone. And having said that, the Nexus 5, that rocked. Like pretty much, it's still going. People that still have it still love it.
They still love it, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great device. So there's a little bit of extra longevity there that I feel like was hard to come by even a year or two ago. So there's that. I guess in some ways it kind of feels like it could be a race to the bottom, and that could be kind of damaging. Do you think there's any risk of that here? Like it's just going to keep on going down, and then suddenly the floor is dropping out of the whole category because it can't sustain what people expect out of their devices from a cost perspective?
Personally, I do not. I think it's fine. I don't think there's a danger in that, except. And especially because if we were to say to make the same argument about Apple, I think there would be a problem there because Apple owns the hardware. But in this case, it's other manufacturers' hardware that we're talking about and not Apple's. And they're all competing against each other. And that's probably another reason why we see this is because Apple owns their own markets, so to speak. And and what we're seeing with Android is competition between different players. And you mentioned HTC going down in market value. And I think what we're seeing is the competition is actually driving that price down too. That's another aspect to it. So I don't think there's a danger in it at all. If anything, driving the price down will increase adoption, and that's a good thing too. So
yeah, that's definitely a good thing. Then getting the next billion, getting people online that wouldn't have necessarily gotten online otherwise. It concerns me a little bit when it feels like the iPhone is what as a status symbol.
Yeah, right.
It is the symbol of a premium device, even though there are plenty of premium Android devices, but the iPhone is the symbol. I mean, that's their tagline right now in their commercial, right? If it's not an iPhone, it's not an iPhone, which is like the stupidest thing ever. Yeah. But they're just reinforcing that kind of that perception for the higher end buyers. That concerns me a little. So I don't know. I would like to see the premium Android device be super popular and maybe the clear winner. But maybe that's not how it's supposed to be with Android. There's supposed to be lots of different choices, and they're supposed to be really affordable devices that anyone can get to. But it is interesting to see the separation. It does feel like there is the separation. This gap is getting bigger.
It's like a little bit of a class war, especially kind of what you're talking about, the kind of the social interpretation of what it means, as a symbol of having an iPhone or an iOS device versus having one of those Android devices. Like I think I read a couple of reviews that were like, why, of course Samsung's, having issues selling the S6. Why would anyone want to buy a copycat of the iPhone at the same price of an iPhone when you can just get an iPhone for that price, which kind of means that anything of quality on the Android side must be lower than an iOS device because iOS is at the top when it comes to that kind of class war. It's kind of,
I don't know though. I mean,
as an Android fan, that kind of hurts.
It does, but I've said this before on other shows, and I think that most of the people that I see running, no offense, folks, but most of the people I see that are holding an iPhone in their hand are my age or older. I don't see a lot of younger folks running iPhones unless it's because their parents got that for them.
Right. Or their parents upgraded.
Right. Because I've got a teenager. I've got a 16-year-old at home. So I always ask, like, the kids that come over and they're like, oh, do you have an Apple charger? And I'm like, no, sorry. And I ask them, like, well, how'd you, what'd you get that for? And they say, oh, that's my mom got it for me, because she has one or something like that. So I don't know. I think that, I think eventually Apple's going to run into an issue here where if they're not reaching the younger audience that upgrades their phones more often and wants to do that, I think that may be a little bit of an issue, because I think Android, and that's another reason why the cheapness of it plays well. If you're a starving college student, even though you may want a nicer phone, you may not be able to afford it, but you can definitely go down and afford the $99 Android phone.
Sure.
And over time, I think that's going to hurt or dig into Apple's ability to broaden their market and increase their numbers.
Yeah. No matter what, you're getting the internet, the world's information in your pocket. That's pretty impressive. For $99, for $50, for $700, whatever. That's pretty impressive that we have this like conundrum right now.
Absolutely.
Let's take a quick break and thank our first sponsor. And then when we come back, we're actually going to talk about something that's totally related to this, and that is the Chinese market, which is a huge market right now that everybody's trying to figure out how they can get into without sacrificing company ethos and all that kind of stuff. It's a very challenging problem. There's a lot going on there. But before we continue, let's take a minute to thank ZipRecruiter. So ZipRecruiter is it's a fantastic tool for business owners, basically. Summertime it's kind of rounding out at this point. We're kind of approaching the end of the summer, but this has been a fantastic time to hire some of the best people. Competitors, they're on vacation. There's a lot less competition for all those quality candidates. And when you're looking for someone to fill a position, that's what you want. You want quality candidates. Posting jobs in one place usually isn't enough to find those quality candidates, and short staffing kind of leaves a little bit of time to post to dozens of job sites. I mean, there are so many of them around the internet. It's practically a full-time job just posting your job to all of these sites. Thanks to ZipRecruiter.com, you can actually post to 100 plus job sites, all with one single click, kind of taking care of it for you. Be instantly matched to candidates from over nearly 6 million resumes. ZipRecruiter is a fantastic tool here. They kind of make it easy for you, so you don't have to hire someone full-time just to hire that other position. Just post once, and within 24 hours, you can watch your candidates just kind of roll into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. And ZipRecruiter has actually been used by over 400,000 businesses. You can try it now for free. Getting the right people for your company is incredibly important. We don't have to tell you that. Janet, a happy ZipRecruiter client, actually said, I was looking for 2 positions at my marketing agency. I received 100 plus resumes in a single month and found most of the resumes to be spot on and well matched to our request. We filled the jobs and would use ZipRecruiter again without hesitation. That's awesome, Janet. It obviously worked for Janet. It's worked for so many businesses. You guys should check it out. Today you can try ZipRecruiter for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/twig. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TWIG. And check it out for yourself. Bring ZipRecruiter into your process and allow them to help you fill your next position. And we thank ZipRecruiter for their support of This Week in Google. Okay, so a lot of stuff happening when it comes to tech companies in China here. A few things kind of converging all at once. I'm probably going to slaughter this, but back in 2010, Google had to pull out of China. Basically, there was suspicion of cyber attacks from the area that Google was cautious about. And then also this kind of ongoing battle with search censorship. China has since blocked access to Google. It's also actually blocked access to Facebook. And times seem to be changing. Google and China have struck a strategic partnership that'll allow Android Wear to come to China for the very first time. In place of Google services, voice service will actually be provided by Mobvoi, or Mobvoi. I'm probably not saying that properly. And mapping provided by Sogou. This is the first time that Wear has been stripped of its Google underpinnings. So that's kind of significant. Wear has, is directly tied into Google's services, and suddenly we're starting to see a little bit of loosening in that front. This, along with a report from the information that shows how Google is willing to make changes to its policy in order to once again gain access to the Chinese market, which happens to be the world's largest internet market. So you can see why it's a big deal. And hopefully gain control over that marketplace, which is just filled with forked Android devices throughout the country. Google would need to, of course, follow local laws in order to do that, block apps and content that the Chinese government sees as objectionable. I'll stop right there. There's more to this story, but we can kind of stop right there and talk about it a little bit. Does this seem like Google's going back on its own commitment to not being evil? It seems like Google was taking a stance from a humanitarian aspect back in 2010 when all this stuff started happening. And now it seems like that's reversing because business is important. Do we understand? Is this Google being evil? What do you think, Gina?
I don't think that the evil switch has been flipped.
Okay.
I think that like this is a delicate dance. Like China
really is
like a really important place that's undergoing, I think, some changes over time based solely on my like very short visits to China. I think China is changing, things are changing, and I think that Google has to be there. And I think that this is a delicate dance. It's going to be lots of conversations, it's going to be lots of negotiations, and I think that it's the right thing for them business-wise. I mean, look, you can take the absolute radical, no, we won't even speak to you position, and I think that's the wrong one to take forever and ever, right? I mean, I think this is an ongoing negotiation. So I didn't read this and think, oh, they went back on their word, they're evil, right? Like it's not a very nuanced view on this.
Sure.
It's interesting to see. I mean, I'm interested from the software perspective. Like, it's really interesting to me to see the way that Google separates, Google services from the open source version of Android, and how they separate those things. And so what they're offering to Chinese users and what advantage that brings them, what advantage it brings to Chinese users. I mean, this is going to be an extremely delicate incremental dance, in the next few years. But I think that this is generally a good thing. And I don't think it's just about business. I mean, it is about business. I mean, certainly is about market share. But I don't think it's about them turning evil. Am I being too easy on them? Am I being too much of a Google fangirl? No. I might be.
I mean, I think if you go back to when they got kicked out or whatever you want to call it, I mean, how are you going to spin that as a company, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to put a positive spin on it. So one way to do that, and I don't think this is not true, right? I just think that you emphasize that positive part of your message, right, as a marketer. And so the positive part of their message back then was, well, in China, there's these things, and we want to stay above board and blah, blah, blah. But, really it's about doing business in China. And if you're not able to do business in China, you just have to put the best spin on it. Now it's like, oh, well, we can get back into China. I mean, you have to, for better or worse. I mean, certainly there's some extreme circumstances that, you're probably going to have to make that call as a company. But I mean, India and China, I mean, you're just going to have to play there if you want to take it to the next level or find a way to do that. It's not like Google's like entering the North Korean market, even if they could. It's not like they're saying that. It's just that they're saying, hey, look, there's a big market there. We want to be a player. We want to let people have access to our products. And so that's what we're doing. That's the way I read it.
Yep. And this can kind of put it into perspective. Apple actually, during their bevel, their huge number of announcements today, announced the iPhone market grew 75% year over year in China, which is its second largest market after the Americas. Economic slowdown in the region could mean that those iPhone sales are going to drop, which could be a great opportunity for the lower cost Android devices. Of course, Google would love for those lower cost Android devices to be running its services and not be forked versions, because then they can actually kind of capitalize off of that, obviously. And then finally, and this just broke shortly before the show, New York Times reported today that a meeting of Chinese President Xi Jinping, I believe, during his first U.S. visit next month is being planned. Invites out to top executives from Apple, Facebook, IBM, Uber, as well as, of course, Google. The topic will be industry cooperation between the U.S. and China, along with big companies from both countries. So there's a lot of movement suddenly going on, and it seems like probably what we're going to see if all this kind of comes together is Google making some I'm sure difficult decisions for the company based on its history with wanting to kind of keep things open and keep search, keep it all free and all that and unfiltered. But if they want to play in the second largest internet market in the world, there's obviously something's got to give, and so we're probably going to see that sometime in the near future, I would guess.
And I mean, it's important to remember how important China is to the Android market anyway, because China, most of the hardware that we run our software on comes from China to begin with, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
It's like it makes sense that the software should be there as well. So I think this is a good thing. I think conversations, negotiations, and meetings are about cooperation are a good thing for everyone.
Yeah.
I hope they go well.
I wonder if any of this is made easier with the transition into Alphabet and kind of splitting things up. I don't know for sure what the answer would be on that, but that was kind of part of the reason I think Google gave for splitting everything off and creating Alphabet, was that certain things that might have seemed outside of the realm of understanding from a company like Google then suddenly makes sense when Google is just a company under something bigger like Alphabet, and maybe this falls into that category. Maybe that makes it a little bit easier. I don't know. Speaking of the Alphabet, let's talk a little bit more about the logo. We did actually, Leo and the gang, spent a good amount of time on the logo last week, so we don't need to discuss it to great depth, but I'm sure, our opinions haven't been heard about it yet, and it's been a good, nice, solid week. The new car smell is kind of faded, and our eyeballs have adjusted. You may notice down there that we have an updated This Week in Google logo with font. Whoa, and it's growing. I'm impressed. Anthony Nielsen here at Twit redesigned the logo to more or less match the actual logo from Google. I think it's a great job. It's not a straight borrowing of the actual logo, so we had to kind of recreate it, but I think it looks awesome. And
thank you, Anthony.
Yeah, thank you. So the new logo has complicated serifs. It actually results, check this out, in a 6 kilobyte file that's compressed all the way down to 2 kilobytes. Sorry, that's the old one. The old logo compresses down to 2 kilobytes. The new logo is only 305 bytes.
What the font?
Can you believe it?
Amazing?
Because things like serifs and stuff are kind of complications within the font. And this new logo, as you can tell, and as a lot of people actually seem to hate, is that it's really simple. It's really straightforward. It's just a bunch of circles for the most part with a couple of slanted lines.
Yep. It's all about compressibility.
Right. If Google wants to get anything to your device in a place where your connection's really bad, it's at least the logo.
That's true. That's true. We're seeing everything get restylized. Like just today, Google Plus rolled out its new logo style and everything. I don't know if you've seen on. Do I have it on my Nexus 6?
Yeah, I've got it.
See if I can. Oh, I don't have it. Yeah,
you don't have it? The Google Plus?
I have it on my 5. I don't have. Oh no, I was going to show the search bar.
The search bar. I do have that as well. Except I don't know if I have a camera that's tight enough to get this.
Yeah,
can you see that?
Yeah,
you can kind of see it. It's all
you can see the Google the logo obviously, but then also I've noticed, like, even in Maps. I don't know if you saw that today or yesterday. Even in Maps, they've updated all of the associated logos, like the microphone here, and if I do, of course, the Maps itself has changed, and then if I do, let me see if it has it. They've got the logo there. And I thought I saw something else. I don't know. I thought there was something else. I thought there was something else in Maps as well that I saw that had the updated logo. So it's just popping up everywhere. In Chrome, in the browser, I've noticed a couple things that had the logo updated. So they're really
fave icon.
The fave icon. Yeah, they're just going all out. A friend of mine
joked that the logo was fine with him, but that the fave icon made him want to throw a chair through the Googleplex window.
I mean,
this is so funny because we all look at our tabs all day long, and that's like such a
it's true.
Change.
It is a jarring change. We've been so used to it one way for so long. I mean, people are getting really wow, people spend a lot of time watching fonts. The New York Times actually compared Google's logo change to that of New Coke versus Coke.
Yeah.
Remember Quickster versus Netflix? I forgot about Quickster. I forgot that was even a thing.
Too.
I know.
That's just mean. It's crazy. That is totally crazy. So like, I
like it.
I'm coming from the perspective of someone who's been like looking at material for a long time. So the new logo didn't feel that jarring or surprising.
Totally.
I was like, oh, that feels very material. And yeah, it's really different. And I'm not a typography expert, but I've been making software for a long time, and I have gone through firsthand the sort of user revolts to change. And that particular piece, that New York Times, it was a New Yorker piece, that particular New Yorker piece about how bad the logo really is. Right. Just, I read the whole thing. It was thousands of words, and all I could hear was like, I hate change, wah, wah, I hate change. I mean, people just hate change, you know? It's natural, it's human to hate change. Yeah. But I think in this particular case, it's like, not a big deal. I like it. I think it's clean. I think it's modern. It is slightly childish, but Google's always had a very whimsical, little, like, you know, kind of childlike aspect to the company. I think it's very reflective of the brand. And I have to say that I think that Google's advances in design in the past few years have been amazing, have been great. Materials, an incredible design system, and I really love this logo design system. I think it's very mobile friendly, and I think it works. So, but it's funny. It's just funny that a week later, people are still like ruminating about how much they hate. I will say that I wish that the microphone on my home screen was not colored. Yeah. Like that felt a little.
I hear that
from
people
much.
A lot. Yeah, and I wonder if that's one of those things that'll just kind of get used to it. It goes to show how much we stare at Google logos.
Yes.
If people are this concerned about it, because obviously we use Google a lot and we see it everywhere because we either don't mind seeing the change or we can't stand it every time we happen to glance at it.
Yeah. Well, we called it before the show started. We were calling it the crayon.
The crayon font.
The crayon font, or as Gina would say.
Crayon.
The crayon. The crayon.
There's 2 syllables. Crayon.
Crayon
you say
font.
Crayon, I say crayon.
It does feel a little childish to me. I mean, it does feel a little bit more like I'm using like a kid's phone when I especially with the mic icon. And so I think there's a danger here of them taking this a little too far. Like sometimes when you come out with a new branding program for a company, everyone jumps on board and they're like, "Oh, we're going to change everything. Oh, look at this. I styled this just to look like the new logo. Blah blah blah." You know, they could take it a little too far. It could get carried away. So I think there's a little bit danger in that. But you know, I agree with Mike P in the chat room who said, you know, I like the old one better. I don't like the new one, but who cares? It's a logo.
Yeah. Absolutely. I kind of thought it has, alphabet, the tie to alphabet. It kind of obviously makes sense. I think when you're talking about it looking a little bit kid-like and childlike. Oh, there we go. But that's alphabet with serif font.
Right.
That is so like a week and a half
drop
ago.
Shadow.
Yeah. But also like weren't Sergey and Larry Montessori kids? And I don't know if they were Montessori kids. So. I know for some reason in my brain I'm like, yeah, it makes sense that they do that. Yes, the company is whimsical and operates kind of in the Montessori way. Yeah. That's obviously their background, so it all kind of works together. I like the logo. There we go. That's all anybody needs to know is that we think it's all right.
Twig has officially embraced the logo, and our logo has been updated. So deal with it.
Yeah, deal with it.
I need the glasses. Deal with it.
Let's see here. Did you guys see the Motorola watches? We talked about it, I think, a little bit on last week's show. But the new Moto 360 watches that Motorola unveiled.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I heard about it, but I didn't look into it.
I want that sport watch. When's that going to get released? I went looking for it, and it's apparently they haven't given details on when that's going to be released. But they look neat.
They just kind of showed it off. The sport does look very interesting. They actually had another watch that they were potentially going to release. I guess a blog post by a Motorola engineer revealed that an even lower cost, kid-friendly version of the Moto 360 was in the works. Didn't make the cut with last week's announcements. It would have been what they're calling a value tier smartwatch, and super bright colors and perfect for kids. And I think some of the pictures kind of show the back, and kind of looks like maybe some of the materials are of a lower quality. But I don't know. So I like their strategy though with the Moto 360, and actually it's not just Motorola. It's some of the other watches that are being unveiled. Kind of the new era of Android Wear watches that we're entering into for the next year. They're realizing that not everybody's wrist is the same size, and they're kind of giving you some choice options as far as size is concerned. I think that's kind of important.
I'm just looking at these a little bit more closely now. They look a little bit like, I mean, I know that it doesn't have the same mechanism, but it looks a little bit like a Swatch watch.
Yeah,
remember Swatch watches in the 80s?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder if it's meant for kids, then does that mean that your kid would also be carrying around a phone that's syncing to their watch?
That was my question. So I'm like, kids, what? Not how old or what are we talking about? Are we talking about high school kids?
Yeah.
These are kids that are already carrying phones. And like, what are they doing with the watch? Like, I don't know. And then whatever, I got into this existential question of like, well, what do I do with the watch? And, would I get one of these for my kid? I don't know. I'm just imagining my kid sitting in class getting like Instagram likes, notifications on her wrist, and getting distracted. So I don't know, Jason, would you get a smartwatch for one of your kids if she were, I don't know, 12, 13, 14?
Sure,
15?
if she wanted one. I think that's the the question. Kids, especially 13, 14, 15, they're very opinionated. Are they going to want to wear a Motorola,
it's true,
flashy color watch at that point? I don't know. They're probably going to want to step it up a little bit, but maybe I don't understand 13, 14, and 15-year-olds very well. My 5-year-old has a watch, but it's a very cheap watch,
right?
And I'm okay with that because she's probably going to destroy it.
Oh yeah.
Did she want a watch?
She did. She asked for one because she sees me wear my Moto 360. And
that's adorable.
And every once in a while she'll come up and she'll just start touching the screen, which is kind of annoying. But she sees me wearing that watch. My wife wears a watch. She's in fitness, so she wears it to time certain things. And she wanted a watch, and it's helped her tell the time. But it's the old-fashioned. It's not a digital. It's like the hands.
Yeah, with hands
style.
and crazy.
Yeah.
What is going on here?
Motorola probably made the right decision cutting this value tier kids watch at this point in time.
Yeah.
But maybe 5 years from now.
Yeah.
That would be a kid's watch or just a low end value tier, is what they're calling it. It would make more sense.
Sure.
I can see like with these, the band, like I think they're missing an opportunity here. Like the bands should be like Avengers or Batman or you know what I mean?
Hey, there's options there.
Something like that. I mean, if it's really going to be marketed to kids, I mean, I don't know. I can see that. I can see buying, when I was a kid, I had underoos, and maybe now it's smartwatches. I don't know.
It's a
Times
smartwatch
changed.
band.
Yeah, it's a smartwatch band.
Yeah.
It's the new underoos.
Yep. I'm not sure that's the marketing angle that they want to take, but
don't you like that slogan? I think it'll work.
Along the watch tip of things, Samsung unveiled what was expected from them at the IFA conference in Berlin last week, though they didn't unveil it in the main presentation, which is kind of interesting. The Samsung Gear S2. It's a round watch face, stainless steel body, small size, and it's not actually running Android Wear. We kind of heard hints of this. It's running Samsung's Tizen OS. But Samsung's doing something a little bit different here. It has compatibility with all Android devices, not just Samsung's.
Oh, I thought it was only Samsung. I missed that.
Which is great. It newer Android devices is what they said.
Okay.
And Samsung's also looking into iOS compatibility. So Samsung kind of embracing the thought that they might actually sell more of this type of accessory style hardware if they open it up to more than just Samsung users. I like that from you, Samsung. Because I've always thought, a lot of their components and their accessories and whatever are kind of neat, but you're limiting yourself.
100% Galaxy. Yeah. That seems like a late revelation, but glad that it happened.
Yeah. What's interesting about this is it has a bezel. So the round bezel essentially rotates, and that's what you use for navigation through the S2. It also has NFC on board for Samsung Pay, so that'll come in really handy.
Samsung Pay.
You saw, there you go. You see a little bit of the rotating bezel in parts of the video anyways. And it has 3G and non-3G versions. Yeah, there you go. Supposedly it's very responsive with the rotating bezel, so that's cool. And but it's going to be a little expensive. Apparently the placeholder on the site has it around 379 euros to start, which is around $420. $420. Whew.
Wow.
Up to around $500 US. Those prices might fluctuate, might go downward once we get official pricing in the US, but so I'm like torn because it's a nice looking watch.
Yeah, I would say from the videos and the pictures I've seen, it's one of the nicer looking watches compared to what's available right now. I mean, it looks about the same as the Huawei watch.
The Huawei watch.
In terms of looks, but I haven't held it in my hands or anything, but I mean, just based on what I see, it looks like about the same.
Yeah, the Huawei Watch.
No flat tire with a relatively small bezel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's because it's the different. I think it's an OLED screen versus the Moto 360's LCD screen, and that ambient light sensor has to be facing forward on the LCD screen, something along those lines. So, Motorola's sticking to its flat tire philosophy. I don't know. It doesn't bug me though. Does it bug you guys?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Bugs Aaron.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't bug me as much as I thought it would.
Yeah.
I know. I stopped noticing it. But I do prefer the round. Like I looked at the new Moto 360s and was like, yeah, I want one of these. The sports in particular, I was like, I want one of these. Flat, even with the flat tire. But we'll buy again. So I think it's just
Oh, nice, excellent. Thank you. See, this is why we need Brian on all the shows, because he can do things like that out of nowhere.
Absolutely.
And then finally, before we take a break. Related to Samsung, I thought this was kind of cool. So we've heard a lot about Samsung Pay, and we've heard about how it works with pretty much any, contact or any payment center, essentially. Anything that can accept a card swipe, Samsung Pay is supposed to work with, because it basically blasts out kind of electromagnetic field and essentially sends your credit card data through that way, imitating a card essentially without actually having to swipe through. There's video. Someone took Samsung Pay for a spin at a retailer to kind of show how it works using, it looks like an S6 Edge, and it's quite literally like the easiest thing in the world. Like, it works exactly like any other contactless, like NFC payment. But
I saw one of these for Android Pay this week too. A similar video.
Yeah,
but this is Samsung Pay.
This is Samsung Pay.
Okay.
So, yes, so using the Loop Pay technology.
Yeah.
And this is a terminal that is not set up to accept NFC payments.
Yeah,
it's just a normal terminal. Now that's cool.
That's cool.
That is
awesome.
cool.
I kind of feel like that's what we need on all the phones. Like, and I don't know, but maybe NFC will become so ubiquitous that it won't matter.
Let's hope so. I love using my phone to pay for stuff. And it still wows people. They're like, oh, I didn't know you could do that, And it's like, it's been out for years. But it's so much easier. In fact, I was someplace the other day and I had forgotten my wallet. I think I was going through a McDonald's or something, and we had all the kids in the back. Everybody's hungry. It was like, okay, we'll just go through McDonald's. We get all this food and everything. I get up there and I'm like, oh crap, I forgot my wallet. So I just pulled out my phone. I'm like, oh yeah, it's McDonald's. Can you just scan my phone? She's like, sure. Bloop, done. So
nice.
Excellent.
Google Wallet saved the day for me, for sure.
Yeah, that's my problem, is I forget to use it. And then because it's not every single place, it's not a no-brainer. So then you actually kind of have to figure, like, do I get my wallet? Yeah. But I forgot my wallet today, so maybe it would come in handy. Maybe I'd be forced to use it in this case. I'm just not going to buy anything instead. But you might want to buy this. Let's take a break and thank our second sponsor of today's episode, and that is the Ring Video Doorbell. Now, I have a Ring Video Doorbell that I connected to my house a few months ago. It was super easy installation, and I'm loving it. It is super cool. Basically, it allows you to use your smartphone to see who's at your door. It's literally a video doorbell. Somebody rings your door and rings at your door, and the app for Ring pulls up a little notification and it says somebody's at your door. And then you go ahead and click through, and it'll give you the video readout, and you can either accept or deny. And if I hit accept, I can actually talk to them, and I see them talking to me, and I hear them talking to me. My kids love to run up to it and just hit the button because they know Dad might answer, which is hilarious. Sometimes annoying, but mostly hilarious. It's very easy to install. They give you the whole kit, as you can see right here, the drill bit. They give you a nice little level so that you can just drop it right into place, make sure that it's nice and level. And then this is the video doorbell. Somebody hits that, it chimes. If you have an additional accessory inside, the Ring Chime, which I did purchase myself, so I have one of those inside, it'll ring that same doorbell inside. If I don't have my smartphone on me, I'll hear that. Or it can kind of connect into your existing doorbell setup. So if you already have a bell installed inside, you can just wire it into this, and it'll ring a doorbell like any other doorbell would. And it has proprietary screws, so you're kind of wondering, like, oh, can't someone just walk up and unscrew it and take it with them? And oh, here, I'll show that to you. It's that little proprietary screw bit that locks it in place. Make sure that they can't take off with it. So it's just really cool. 95% of home break-ins happen during the day. That's why you need something like this. It's a great security tool. You can set it up for motion detection if you want and kind of set the range, or you can just have it be a doorbell. And when someone rings the door, you'll see it. You know, it's got night vision LEDs. Really performs well at night when there's no light outside. You can still see everything nice and sharp enough to understand what's going on. And yeah, the install was just super quick, very easy. I'm loving it. It's a lot of fun, and I enjoy the random calls from my kids while I'm at work. It's usually when I'm doing all about Android and they're getting home from school. But every once in a while, I scare them, and they think it's hilarious. So if you want to check out the Ring Video Doorbell, I think that you should. Time Magazine thinks that you should. They named it one of the top 10 gadgets of 2014. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. Right now, you can get $10 off the normal price of the Ring Video Doorbell. Protect your home, have peace of mind with Ring. All you got to do is go to ring.com/twig, and you'll get $10 off the normal price. That's ring.com/twig. Check it out for yourself. You're going to have a lot of fun with this, and it's going to protect your home. So it's a great investment. And we thank Ring for their support of This Week in Google. All right. Hey, you brought in some hardware, Aaron.
I did.
As you are wont to do, and I love that, because it's like when we bring Aaron Newcomb onto a show, we're partially getting your brain, and then we're suddenly seeing what you've been working on the past couple of weeks.
That's right. That's exactly what it is. It's like, what have you been doing since we started meeting last? Oh, well, let me show you.
I know. I'm amazed that you find time to build these things.
It's all like after hours, you know, wee hours of the morning stuff. It is. It's a lot of fun.
That's cool. So what you got here?
Okay, so this is my project. This is my thing that I usually bring in here. So let's see if I can get this. Here we go. So this is actually the backup entry access system for our makerspace, which I've been working on for a while. So it uses an Arduino. The great thing about this, so I love projects that reuse technology so to keep them out of the landfill. And I also like projects that are cheap because I'm a cheapskate. Mm-hmm. So this satisfies both of those because I'm reusing some stuff and the stuff is cheap. These Arduinos you can get on eBay or sometimes Amazon for less than $5, especially if you get them in bulk. So this has become a really cheap platform. Some of these are knockoffs, I know. I'm sorry about that, but again, I'm a cheapskate, so I'll just go for that. So anyway, this really cheap development platform. There's a real-time clock. Here, if you're wondering what that is, it's a real-time clock to keep time because Arduino, you know, once you unplug it, it's done. It doesn't have a real-time clock built in or a battery built in. So I needed that as part of the system here. And then, of course, I recycled this number pad. This is a PS2 number pad that you used to have to buy, you know, when your keyboard, if you got a keyboard without a number pad, or I don't know, you want extra number pads, one for each hand. I don't know why. But you can find these things in, sometimes you can find them in flea markets, or I found this one in a warehouse, you know, a computer PC supply warehouse for less than $5. So this whole thing costs about $15. And what it does is it allows you to implement a secret code system that would unlock your door. So we have an electronic door on our front door at the makerspace. And what I can do is I can hook the Arduino up to a relay so that when you enter the correct code on the keypad here and press enter, it'll actually unlock the door. And it's just a backup system. You can run this off of solar or wind power. You can hook it up to a battery and just run it that way so that you don't, if you're off the grid, for example. The way we typically do the door system is there's an RFID key that's hooked up to a Raspberry Pi. You scan the RFID key, it looks up in a database. But there's all these moving parts. And if the power goes out, that could be a problem because the door wouldn't open from the outside if someone wanted to come in. So this is the backup system. It runs a very simple, well, not very simple, a relatively simple program. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to post this on GitHub so people can put in their own key system, their own algorithm. So, for example, you might use part of the date or part of the time along with, you know, so many digits of pi to come up with some sort of unique number that only you know. And then you can give that code to someone, they'll enter it, and then it'll change. Kind of like how Google does when you sign on from a new computer. If you have two-factor authentication on, it'll send you a passcode, and you'll have to put in that passcode to make sure you are who you say you are. This algorithm works similarly, but you're able to tinker with that on your own and either make it as simple or as complex as you want. So we can try this. The way this will work is, if it's working, I'm going to give you a code. Okay. Jason, you're going to put this in, and what should happen is, yeah, here we go. Ready? Okay. What should happen is on the Raspberry Pi, you should see the green light blink solid for 3 seconds. If it doesn't work, you'll see it blink twice in quick succession. So why don't you put in a random 4-digit code and press enter? See, did it blink twice?
I missed it. I was looking at my fingers.
Try again. Try again.
Yes, it did. Okay.
It did.
I saw little green blinky things.
Okay, so now I'm going to put in the my super secret code. And if I do this right, you should be able to type in the code 4896.
Enter.
And press enter. And we get a solid light. I don't know if you can see that. It stays solid for 3 seconds. And that's emulating what would happen with our door lock, actually. The door lock would unlock for 3 seconds. You'd be able to go in, and then it would lock back up.
Nice.
That's the way that works. So if you're interested, it's just an interesting, cheap hack that you can do at home. You can actually take the keypad out of this and put it into your own case if you want to. And I'm going to be putting the code up on GitHub once I obfuscate some of the parts in there, put in some more variables and obfuscate some of the code that I want people seeing. But I'll put this up on GitHub, and anybody should be able to implement this, like I say, for under $20. It should be kind of a fun project. You could build this into like a lockbox for your kid. You could put like make some sort of a treasure chest, and this would be the secret code, that you have to.
Oh man, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
do like a treasure hunt.
Right.
And at the very end of it, if
you have to know the code.
Piece the puzzle together, they know the code to get
Exactly. So there's lots of
idea.
Cool little ways you could use this, and it's a fun, cheap project to do. So anyway, that's the project I thought I'd show off for today.
So when you do a project like this, do you set out to solve a particular thing, or do you like a particular need in your life? Like,
yes.
You know what I need is this thing. I'm going to see if I can build it for $20.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, not just for $20, but let's see if it's feasible to do this in a cheap way. I mean, we would probably do this if it was $20, $30, $100. We probably still would have done it anyway, just because we need to have that backup system, because that's what we're offering our members is 24/7 access. And if you don't have that, then you're kind of not fulfilling your part of the bargain. So we probably would have done it anyway. But it's cool to reuse electronics in a way, for me anyway, in new projects, and kind of bring them back to life, or use them in a way that just to keep them out of the landfill, like I said, just to be able to reuse it in new and interesting ways. So
love it. And I'm about to reap the benefits of your handiwork as well, because
did you get your
Aaron's Arcade is hopefully coming soon to me, and I'll be back on the new Screensavers sometime in the next month or two. Diami Palaki and on the East Coast is a woodworker that is basically building the tabletop main cabinet for me, and he's also mounting all the components. So it's been a project that's at this point been months in the coming, which is just going to make it that much sweeter when I finally have it and can do all the wiring. But maybe we can get you on the Screensavers that episode as well, and you can show me how to wire things. Yeah, I can bring mine in. And we can kind of go over it, and we can have, here's the finished version, and we'll kind of wire yours up and see if we can get it to work. It'd be fun. I'm jealous that you're able to find this time to do this stuff.
Well, the other thing is my kids are a little older now.
Yeah,
so 10 to 16, so they're pretty self-sufficient.
That helps.
We don't have to change the diapers, wipe the butts, all that fun stuff like you guys are in the middle of right now. So it does help having the older kids.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yep, hopefully not. Hopefully soon, not that anymore.
Yes.
But yes, that's reality for me right now, and definitely for Gina, I would imagine as well.
Yep.
Let's see here. Got a lot. Here I thought there was not enough news to talk about. It turns out we're probably not going to have enough time to talk about everything. But I think this is interesting, or maybe expected. Amazon has sold out of its supply of the Fire Phone. The product page on Amazon now states, "We don't know when or if this item will be back in stock," and an Amazon spokeswoman told GeekWire that inventory is officially depleted as of the end of August. So the Fire Phone, no more stock. If you were thinking about picking up the Fire Phone, you might be out of luck unless you find a reseller on eBay or something like that. This, coupled with Wall Street Journal's report that Amazon laid off dozens of Fire Phone engineers, I don't know, could spell the death of the Fire Phone experiment, or maybe they're going to come back with a new and improved one that doesn't quite hinge so much on the gimmicks. I guess Amazon reportedly sold a total of around 12,960 Fire Phones. Wow, that's when it's
13,000.
That's pretty bad.
Teensy. It's minuscule.
But we understand why. I mean,
just
really.
the marketing that went behind. I mean, think about how many people saw the ad for the Fire Phone. I mean, I don't mean to be like schadenfreude, but it is kind of nice to be like, oh, okay, like even Amazon, which is an amazing company that does amazing things, can have just a huge flop. Oh,
I know, right? And the numbers that Amazon is used to moving on pretty much everything it sells, and for this to literally be 12,000 and change devices, that's a big.
I wonder what
failure.
the ratio of cardboard box tape to phones sold is. You know, because they were putting the Fire Phone tape on everything. How many yards of tape does it take to sell one phone?
That's right. I feel like I still get I guess it's not the phone anymore tape, but yeah, that tape.
Yeah.
And we had to say goodbye to Firefly, right? Was Firefly the feature?
Firefly was a feature in the Fire Phone, but I believe do you also get that in the Fire Tablet? I can't remember. I think Firefly it's also in the Fire Tablet, but yeah, that's a really good question. I'm trying to remember if it was part of the tablet. I thought that they included it there too. That it was just part of the OS. Could be wrong. Maybe we'll find out soon enough, because the Wall Street Journal also reported that Amazon is preparing to release a 6-inch tablet at around half the price of the Kindle Fire HD6, targeting a $50 price point. Wow. $50 for a tablet.
$50.
Yet the Fire Phone came out at what? 2, 3? How much was the Fire Phone at launch? Was it $400? Was it like?
No, I don't think so. I thought it was like $299.
I remember when it came out, everybody was like, wow, that is priced way high. Fire Phone original price. God, I can't even remember at this point.
Google to the rescue.
$200 on contract, $650 off. Fire Phone, $650 off contract.
Wow.
Okay, and now they're coming out potentially with a $50 tablet. So maybe they are learning some lessons.
Well, you know, the $50 tablet is the Kindle thing, where it's like, this is actually you purchasing a buying machine. Like this is a machine that helps you buy things from Amazon.
Right. Yep. And I guess they potentially don't have to clear anything with any mobile networks, mobile carriers, and all that kind of stuff, which I imagine is annoying and costly. At least that's what we hear anyways. Let's see here. I know we've probably got more Google stuff to talk about.
Did you guys, by the way, do you run Amazon on your phones? Amazon app? Do you run the Amazon Store app or any of that? Because I got the Amazon Video app, which is a separate. Did you guys get that? Did you talk about that?
I
talked about it on All About Android.
Oh, you did? Okay. I don't want to.
But All About Android. This is a different show.
Well, I'm just curious because I mean, I haven't used it. I've been a little bit afraid to use it. Is it just basically is this ultimately the connection to, Prime Instant Video, streaming video, right? That they held off on for so long. Okay.
And one of the things that is added in here, and one of the things that Gina, you loved so much about it, you brought it into the arena on All About Android last week, is that it supports offline viewing. So you can download to your device a streaming video. Download that to your device, and then when you go flying somewhere or whatever, you've got it.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm just pulling this up now. It's very Netflixy.
Yeah.
It's Netflixy. It's got the X-ray feature where, like, if you're watching something, you can tap and it'll tell you like who the actors are and what song is playing. Like the Google Play, similar to the Google Play feature, but it's IMDb powered. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, it doesn't have a cast button. Like that's
a big one.
That's
strange.
That's the really annoying thing.
I mean, really, if it had a cast button, I would totally use it.
Yeah, there's
like more than I would, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
More than I do now, which is hardly ever.
There's tons of content. Like as a Prime member, there's just tons of content that I get for free that I just forget about or don't look at. Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. It's not like we don't consume content.
Yeah.
But Amazon has all this content that's tied into the price of our Prime membership, yet we forget about it. And part of the reason for that is because up until recently, it's been very difficult as a general Android user and not an Amazon device user to actually gain access to that, which is just incredibly frustrating.
I found that interesting, and I'm glad you guys talked about it because I found that interesting that they're finally coming out with an app. I mean, you could get the app before, but it was you could get it to work on non-Amazon phones before, but it was extremely difficult. You had to install different things in different orders and trick it and get it to work. But I think maybe they're finally like starting to get it. Like maybe they're following Netflix, or they've been following Netflix cues and developing their own original content for a while now. So, I mean, maybe they're finally realizing like, oh yeah, we need eyeballs, actually to actually make some money here.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Google is testing out its food delivery service. So kind of expanding their horizons here. Trials set for San Francisco and another unmentioned city at this point. Google's partnering with Whole Foods as well as Costco. And food delivery. This will be an expansion of Google Express, which is kind of its current service that delivers merchandise, dry foods, if I can talk, to customers. Competitors, of course, include Amazon with its Amazon Fresh service and Instacart. And we'll also see an expansion of next-day deliveries to a number of places in the Midwest for Google Express. So I would love to try this out, but it's not in Petaluma.
I still have a coupon. I actually can get the service, I think, where I live. I've got a $10 coupon or something for, what is the other service called? Google
Express.
Express,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I tried that in Manhattan. Yeah, it was great. It was great.
It worked. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked. The stuff showed up. You know, it's funny. My issue with this, like in my mind, in sort of an app-driven world, you have to be like, I want to do this thing. What is the app or the brand or the company that can do this thing for me? And so I have these very strong mappings in my mind, you know? So like for me, like the Google mapping isn't delivery, right? Like for me, if I want something delivered, I'm going to go with Seamless or Amazon, you know? And if I want the cloud, then I'm going to get Google. You know, if I'm going to watch streaming video, I'm going to go Netflix, which is part of the reason why I always forget about my Prime Instant Video stuff, because to me, like I'm on Amazon to go shopping. So while like I'm sure that Google's entirely capable with their lots of money, you know, billions of dollars to create like a super fast and efficient delivery system, which could possibly rival Amazon's, although it's hard to believe that Google, you know, is going to be anywhere near moving this type of merchandise at that scale that Amazon does anytime soon. I just don't think of Google. Like I just wouldn't think of Google to be like, oh, let me order from Google versus Amazon. But that said, when they released Shopping Express, it was a while ago. I feel like it was a while ago, and it was a day we were doing Twig, and I happened to be working in Manhattan because it hadn't been released in Brooklyn yet, and I ordered like some granola bars and snacks for the office, and it showed right up, and it was great. It was really, and they gave a coupon. You know, they want new customers. It's just that I just don't think like, oh, Google, like now I want produce from Whole Foods, so Google will deliver it to me.
And I need to go grocery shopping, log into Google. Yeah, that doesn't really cross my mind. But
although
Costco, because we haven't done that.
Costco's a good partner for this, I think. I mean, we like a lot of the Costco stuff. We shop at Costco quite a bit. Not as much for the bulk part of it as for the taste of some of the food items they have. They have some pretty tasty stuff. So
I enjoy going to Costco.
You do?
Well, no. Okay,
do you
wait
get
a minute.
inside
Let me
the cart? Because they actually have carts big enough for you to ride in.
I enjoy parts of going to Costco. Some parts I actually really hate.
Like the
but
huge
other parts, like the free food that they hand out and you get to eat while you're walking around.
Samples.
That's good.
Pretty awesome.
The carts crack me
Google
up.
could come and deliver me samples and then
right.
be like, I'll take 3 of those. And then,
yeah. To me, it's just the carts. I can't stop laughing. Every time you go in there, if you just step back and look, it makes everybody look like a really little kid because the handles are like up to here. Like people are trying to get their chin over the cart because it's so big.
Oh, it is.
It's awful.
Because they know you're loading up.
Oh, yeah. If you're going, you're loading up.
You're buying more toilet paper in one run than you've ever bought in your entire life.
Definitely.
That's where Costco sings. New Google Play is hitting and, of course, being torn apart. And so we're seeing fingerprint sensor code built into it in large numbers. So kind of confirming what we think we know anyways about the next Nexus devices having fingerprint sensor in there. I, for one, am really looking forward to the day when I can use my fingerprint authorization for things that I normally have to enter passwords into. LastPass is one of them. That worked awesome for me when I was using the S6. And it was just so nice to just go bloop and have a password enter in. For some reason with the OnePlus 2, that doesn't work yet. And I'm sure it's a compatibility issue that either LastPass or, well, it's probably on LastPass's side, but it's not recognizing the fingerprint reader as being an official mechanism for security with the app. But that's cool. Starting to see a little bit more of that fingerprint code entering into Google's Grandmaster Plan relative to Grandmaster Flash.
I was just thinking that, actually.
I'm happy I didn't miss this one. Okay, Google I/O this year. We saw a focus at least partially on virtual reality, cardboard, and something that Google called Google Jump VR. That's basically their platform for VR video and stitching it all together. This is a whole complex thing. Shown off on stage was a Go rig comprised of 16 cameras that could film content for Jump and stitch it all together seamlessly. The rig is called Odyssey, and now content creators can actually sign up for early access to the hardware. It'll be available in limited quantities, and they are aiming this at professional partners, if that isn't totally evident by the rig's cost of $15,000. Yeah, $15,000. That's 16 GoPros, which if you break that down to a retail per GoPro, that's around $8,000. So I don't know where the rest of that money is made up. There's mounts for each camera, memory cards, Pelican case, and the rig itself. Man, $15,000. But can you imagine how fun it would be?
How long will it be before Leo gets one in here?
I mean, part of me would say like $15,000 is a lot, but he did buy like a $9,000 camera lens, and
yeah,
I'm sure
that'll be right quick.
Yeah, I think it's happening pretty soon.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Wow.
Love it. It's capable of 2.7K video at 4:3. I imagine that 4:3. I'm trying to kind of figure out visually what that means. That's your viewable area, I suppose. That's one kind of downside to this rig, is that you don't really get up and down. It's not a full spherical thing.
Yeah, we got the
Because when you take a look at the rig, there is nothing pointing up.
Right.
Right.
It's all just
it's basically like surround on a vertical sense, and horizontally there's nothing up there, which is kind of a bummer when you're spending $15,000 on a rig to do this type of thing.
Well, it's got to have some blind spot somewhere, because you got to hang it, mount it, put it on a pole.
Yeah.
There has to be some place where you have things attached to it.
Well,
but they've been. I mean, I think I saw this. I don't know if it was if it was the GoPro one, but there was one on Conan when he was at Comic-Con. I think they had one in the audio or above his desk or something, and you could like tune in and put on your VR glasses and look around while the show was being filmed. It was kind of cool.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
The blurriness up top, though, was a little bit of a bummer. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it is.
But I'm being super picky.
Yeah.
It makes it seem like everything's foggy. Like everything is
foggy
shot
day.
as a fog looming over you at all times.
Isn't the one that they showed at I.O., wasn't that like a 6x glasses again?
Sorry, you're making us deal with it, Brian.
I know,
What's going on?
Yeah, sorry. I didn't have it perfectly positioned that time.
There we go.
Deal with it, guys.
Glasses. Why do we have to be the ones to deal with it, Brian? Why can't you deal with it?
Because GoPro's awesome. So whatever.
It's super awesome.
You do revel in the GoPro.
Didn't they have a
fun with those.
6-camera one, though, that they demoed? I thought they had
so they the spherical.
Yeah.
Yes,
and then
they do have
GoPro's
a
like,
spherical.
oh, we're going to do, whatever.
Yeah, GoPro
10
has a
cameras.
spherical video solution. It does have 6 cameras. So they have that. I imagine it's a lot less than $15,000. But I love this. What I wonder is how long it's going to be before they figure out how to make that and also 3D. So, and not just a flat image that surrounds you, but and technologically that seems really difficult.
Yeah.
To be shooting everything in 3D in all directions and have it seamlessly stitch and everything. I don't know how you do that. But thankfully that's not my job to figure out. So there we go. Did I miss anything? Anything you guys want to talk about real quick before I go to a break and then we do our tips and all that stuff? Anything that's burning in your minds?
I think that you
got it?
You hit everything, Jason. There wasn't anything. A lollipop at 21%. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, 21%. That's a nice little milestone 1 year later.
Yeah.
Almost.
A year later, wow.
It's just the way it is. It's just the way Android is. We just gotta deal with it.
Yep. Takes time.
There we go. Thank you. I was waiting for that.
Deal with it.
I think we have our title. Okay, if that's about it, then let's take a minute and thank our final sponsor, and then we'll come back and we'll do a couple of tips and we'll wrap things up. Been an amazing episode. I'm super thrilled to have my friends here, Aaron Newcomb, Floss, doing Floss every Wednesday. Or
Not every
Wednesday, but
a lot of Wednesdays.
Most Wednesdays, anyways.
A lot of Wednesdays.
And then, of course, Gina Trapani, Maker Base is kind of your latest thing. But also Think Up. Think Up's a ton of fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have you guys here. We want to take a minute and thank another awesome sponsor. That's Lynda, lynda.com. And if you're looking to just kind of get smarter, you want to, solve problems, if you're just kind of curious about how things work, you want to watch people who really know what they're doing, really know how to make things happen, watch how they do it, then you definitely want to check out lynda.com. Maybe you want to develop an app or take better pictures, master your skills in Photoshop, sharpen your HTML skills, all this stuff. Lynda's got you covered. Go to lynda.com, has everything you need to feed that curious mind. If you're starting a new business or you want to grow your existing one, lynda.com's new courses include creating a business plan. You can find one on creating customer value, global strategy, teamwork fundamentals, and they really cover the bases here. There's also new courses on the fundamentals of lead generation, problem solving for web professionals. There's media training, speech writing. Guy Kawasaki is on there talking about entrepreneurship. Talk about a video coming from the right person to talk about that sort of thing. Just very, very cool stuff. I've learned a ton about, well, maybe I'm not a master of Adobe Premiere, but using it when we switched from Final Cut to Adobe Premiere, it really helped me with the transition. I've studied up on Pro Tools 11, soundproofing my audio space at home. If you can't tell by now, there are literally categories that cover the gamut. All sorts, animation, CAD, design, development, IT, business, education. It's all over the board. You definitely want to check it out. It's top experts that are teaching this to you, and they know exactly what they're talking about. High quality videos, and it's just a lot of fun. You can get lost. There's thousands of video courses, and it's all on demand. Or, you can learn on your own schedule. Do it at your own pace. Courses are actually structured so that you can start at the beginning and watch to the finish. But you can also kind of consume them in little bite-sized pieces because they're broken up into kind of chapters and sub-chapters and all that kind of stuff. So it makes it easy to pick up where you left off. There's also transcripts included for all of the videos. So you can actually watch the transcript or search the transcript and jump right to a particular point in a video and learn that one thing that you're looking for. You can take notes as you go and, of course, refer to those later. You can download tutorials, watch them on the go. That includes access on your Android and your iOS devices. And you can create and save playlists of courses that you want to watch. So you can customize your learning path. You can share that with your friends and your team members and your colleagues. Just a great way for everyone to learn and become smarter. And we've got kind of a great way to do that right here. Your lynda.com membership gives you unlimited access to training on hundreds of topics, all for one flat rate. If you're looking to become an expert, you're passionate about a hobby, you just want to learn something new, become skilled at something new, definitely check out lynda.com/twig and sign up for your free 10-day trial. It's 10 days, all you can eat. lynda.com/twig, lynda.com/TWIG. And we thank Lynda for their support of This Week in Google and the Twit Network. Such good content there. I love it. All right, so we're kind of wrapping things up. This is about the point in This Week in Google where we talk to you guys and see what you got. Tips, numbers, tools, whatever you happen to have. Gina, let's start with you. What did you got?
My tip this week is this fun new Google search that does something kind of clever. If you search for the phrase, "I'm feeling curious," or you search for the phrase "fun facts," Google search will return just a random bit of trivia, and it's got the whole new logo thing. So when you ask the question, you get the little jumping dots, and then it shows a question and an answer, like how many miles are in a light year, and then it tells you what the answer is. And it's really fun and completely random. It looks like a lot of the trivia comes from different sources, Wikipedia and various places all over the web. And it's really a lot of fun if you're playing a trivia game or you just kind of wanted to learn something new. And once you do it, you can tap the Ask Another Question page button, which is right below it, and you'll get a whole nother random fact. So I'm feeling curious, and you'll learn something new at Google.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like you literally get something random out of nowhere, and almost every time you're like, oh, okay, then.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay, I don't know the answer to that question.
That's super cool.
Why don't you tell me?
Making you smarter.
The world's smallest country.
Based on landmass, the Vatican City, or Vatican City, smallest country in the world, measuring just 0.2 square miles. How old was Wayne Gretzky when he retired? Somebody just yelled out the answer, I'm sure, but he retired at 38. Google knew it before you did. What's that?
Yeah, USA Today. Like if you look at the sources, like you can see that it's not just Wikipedia or like trivia sites. It's like it's USA Today. The last one was from Bleacher Report. They're from different. There are definitely a lot of answers from Wikipedia, but it's like facts from all over the web.
I feel like if Google opened this up in some way for developers to have access to this engine, they could make a really cool trivia app.
Well, wasn't there a game like this from Google at one point? Wasn't there?
I don't know.
Wasn't there a trivia game? I thought
maybe
there
Google
was.
should do that then.
Was there it was like a scavenger hunt? So you had to kind of use Google to find out. I'm also recalling something along these lines.
Yeah, I thought it was. You were supposed to use Google to find the answer, like in your. Yeah. It was like between you and another person, and you're trying to figure out who could do it faster. Something in the back of my head is just telling me that there was a trivia game. Maybe the chat room will come up with it. I could swear there already was one like this, but
it's interesting.
We'll see.
Yeah, I feel like this is. This is kind of Google kind of turning inside out some of their knowledge graph stuff. The way that the Google computers are now understanding objects and attributes and questions, right? I mean, like the reason why Google can answer questions is it's learning how to parse text like this. So I think it's interesting to run this and see the question that it presents and then the answer, because that when someone Googles that question, that's the answer that they give.
Right.
So it's kind of neat to be like, just show me something.
Maybe this
and of course it's a play on I'm feeling lucky.
Yeah. Right. Maybe this is what they're using their quantum computer for.
Random trivia.
Yes, exactly.
Something we can all get behind. Useless facts. Maybe not all useless, but do we really need to know it right now? I don't know.
How many gallons of water are in Lake Superior, Jason?
I don't know, but man, that's going to keep me up at night. I wish there was a resource that I could turn to learn the answer.
Maybe if you say, I'm feeling curious enough, you'll get to that one.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't possibly just enter in the search. I have to find
you got to use, you have to use I'm feeling curious. How long does it take you to get to this question?
Exactly. Aaron, it says Aaron's number in here, but you don't have to pick a number. You can just
How about another project?
Okay.
You said I could do two projects. So we got the first one in. Now we've got another project. So I'm going to open up the Magic Radio Shack bag now. This should be a segment. Aaron's Magic Radio Shack bag. Here it is. Here, the lovely Radio Shack bag that I brought in. What could it be? What could it be? It really is a Radio Shack bag. So this is actually, again, going back to reusing things and doing things on the cheap. There was a time when I needed to trace out, we got a new house here in California, and I needed to trace out the cables in the house because they were all mixed up. I didn't know how to do it, and I didn't have a cable tracer. Back when I was a business telephone installer, random piece of trivia there, I used to have a nice little toner tracer, and I could put a tone on a line on a cable, and I could go to the other end where there's like 15 cables coming out, and I could touch each one of them, and eventually I'd find out the other end of that cable. But I, long since have lost that tool, didn't have that tool. And so partially based on inspiration from an Instructable, I found this cool little hack you can do. You can go to the dollar store, pretty much any dollar store, and you find these little white boxes that you attach to your window, and there's a little magnet that you put on it.
Like a presence sensor?
Yes, and so if someone was breaking into your house or they opened the window when you didn't want them to, you can set it to go off.
They have these for $1?
Yeah, they're in the dollar store, absolutely. Wow. Little bits of electronics. You can see them on the inside. I cut this part out, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But this is where the speaker was. And but you can hack that, and what you can do, what I've done basically is I've separated the speaker that was in there from the board. And now what I can do, and I've attached these leads and a little phone jack, because that's handy.
You're not going to shock me, are you?
I'm not going to shock you. I'm not going to shock you. So now what you can do is you can actually, if I have this plugged in, the other hack I did to this was I kept running out of batteries. So I put a USB cable on here to replace the battery. So now I can take it just about anywhere, plug it into any USB jack. Let's see if this disrupts all of the mics in the studio. No, I don't hear anything yet. Ah! Was that me?
No, that was me.
Oh, man, you got me good. I was like, holy crap. I totally didn't mean to do that.
Wow, I was, okay.
I was impressed.
I was waiting
that
for you
was
to plug
really
that
impressive.
Dang, that was
Talk about being quick on the draw, man.
No kidding.
I've also got a dream bag sound effect when you put it away.
Wow, that was fantastic. Anyway, so I'm just so impressed by that. Of course, now it's not working. Yeah, I must have done something. It's been sitting in my bag for a while. But anyway, you can go hack this thing. All you're doing really is extending the speaker from the device. So you go hook this up to your cable either by using the little alligator clips, or if it's a telephone jack, you go hook it up with the little telephone cord that I've soldered onto to the end where the speaker used to attach to. Then you take the speaker back to wherever your cables are, and you just go through and touch the different pairs of cables on the other end. And eventually the little speaker will go, woo, 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 a little sine wave thing. And then you know you found the cable that you're looking for, the other end of the cable that you're looking for, and you can do whatever you were doing with it. So it's a really simple little $1 hack. Of course, if you have a soldering iron, that's always helpful. You can attach the cables, but you really don't need much, and you can make this thing work for you, and you don't have to go out. If you buy those toner tester things, I think they're like $60-70 for a set of them. You can find them cheaper at flea markets and things, but why do that when you can, for $1, you can go out and hack together this nice little toner tracer. A word of caution: you may end up, if you have sensitive electronics on those lines, if you're not sure if both ends are disconnected, just be careful, because this sends out a sine wave. It could do some damage to sensitive electronics, but most of the electronics in your house, it shouldn't disrupt them at all. It should be fine. You're not going to blow up a phone or anything like that that's connected to this. So there you go. That's my second project for the week. $1.
I'm slightly scared of it.
$1 toner for tracing cables in your house.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Great.
I wish I heard it.
I know. I'll work on it. I'll tell you what. I'll work on this while you guys are doing your numbers. Are you doing a number? Or
nah, I'm doing a little
app?
tip, and it's actually kind of an old tip, but I think it's really cool. I've been having a good time with it. I think it's awesome. So if you didn't know, Google Maps app for Android is like one of the best apps in the world. I've said that for years. It's one of my favorites. I use it all the time. It's probably one of my most used apps, from navigation to doing all sorts of things. And they've been slowly bringing it up to material design, and they've recently changed the logo. They're always changing it and tweaking it and everything. One of my favorite features in the Maps app as of late is my timeline, and I don't know if you guys have seen this. I'm going to go ahead and show this. It's kind of far away, and I'm not going to go into certain screens because it'll show my address. But basically what it does, if you have your location sharing set on your phone and you just live your normal life, what it will do is it will it will show you just where you travel. It basically tracks your every move, and it syncs up stuff that you do on the phone to those locations. So we went camping this weekend, so you can see I started my day out in Mendocino, California. I took a couple of pictures while we were by the campfire. Took a bunch of them, actually. And then a little bit later, we went into Mendocino, went to Frankie's, went to Out of This World shopping, went to the beach. I was on the beach with my kids and all this kind of stuff. Then we saw the sunset and everything. So that's day one. Then you can switch over, and you'll see like little indicators too. Like that's a little tree because it recognizes that I was in Hendywood State Park. That we were driving. We passed through Navarro. We went to Navarro Winery, actually, and then we went back to Hendy Woods. And it's just a cool way to kind of visualize what you have done over the course of however many days, weeks, years, because all this information, if you've had location sharing on, all this information, it's a little frightening. You realize that Google is storing all this information for you, but you have access to it. And you can kind of reap the benefits. It might actually be, and it has been, very beneficial to me. I just got rid of it, and I'm going to be careful here because I don't want to show my address. It might be beneficial to you at some point. There we go. To need to navigate back to a particular place, right? And the only way that you can remember to do that is, I know I went there 2 days ago. You may not have even actively navigated there. So normally you can maybe look at that and be like, well, I went there 2 days ago, so it's in my history. It actually is in your history, whether you did that or not. It's in your location history, and you can just go right into it and, navigate me to Hendywood State Park. And it's the easiest thing in the world. So it's just kind of a way of looking into your history of travel and, within the Google Maps app, and be able to put it to use. Get yourself back to where you've been, find out kind of what the last couple of days were like from a travel standpoint, as well as from all the pictures that you took, and having it all sync in on a timeline. It's literally a timeline. It's just awesome. Loving it. It's a good time.
I didn't know about this, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's like I was on the subway, I was home, and then I got on the subway, and then I was at the DMV, and then I went out for lunch. Like, it's crazy how accurate it is.
Yeah.
It'll tell you whether you're walking or driving.
Exactly.
I don't know how it knows I was on the subway. I guess it knows where the subway station is and where I lost a signal. This is crazy. I had no idea.
It's kind of a window into just what Google knows about you based on just you using your phone.
Yeah. This is really neat. Thank you for pointing it out.
Yeah. And the fact that we carry our phones everywhere. So all of this information, is obviously very valuable to Google to know all this. And at least you have access to it too. I guess that takes maybe a little bit of the creep factor away from it. But I don't know. I kind of knew that Google had all this information anyways.
So you were good with it. You were down anyway, so it was okay.
It's awesome. Yeah. It's awesome scanning through it though. And taking a look.
It is. It really is. I'm like totally blown away.
Yeah. And it goes back far. You'll keep scanning back and you'll be like, wow, okay, this has been going on for a really long time. Deal with it.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Oh, were you?
No, I can't get it. So, yeah. 1 out of 2 ain't bad. I got 1 live demo today.
That's okay.
That's a good.
Yeah,
that's actually really good.
When you're pulling apart a piece of electronics from the dollar store, yes.
Yeah.
I think it's about time to wrap this up. We, the whole schedule has kind of gone a little bit behind today because of the Apple event, but I think we've been able to pick up some steam. And more importantly, we were able to cover, I think, most of the really important stuff that's happened this past week with Google and beyond. And I'm just thrilled that both of you guys were able to hop on and join me today in Leo's absence. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Anytime, yeah.
Gina, why don't we start with you first? What you working on? What are you most excited about? Where can people find you?
Yeah, so my company ThinkUp has been working on a new product. It's called MakerBase. That's .se. It's a free website where you get to log on and you get to show everyone the stuff that you make, whether it's apps or hardware projects like errands or little websites or software services. It's just kind of like a Wikipedia or an IMDb for digital projects or artwork. I'm really excited this weekend. I'm actually headed to Portland, Oregon for XOXO, which is kind of a meeting of a certain kind of maker, big maker community. So I hope you'll check out MakerBase if you make stuff or if you're inspired by people who make stuff. I know Aaron inspires me with his amazing hardware project, so I have added him to MakerBase.
Awesome.
You can add other people. Everybody's edits are visible. Everything is public. You get to describe what you did and how long you worked on things. We're kind of trying to make, the CV or the resume for people who aren't really don't work in big corporations and hold titles. People who are proud of the stuff that they build, maybe on the weekends or with friends or just kind of, passion projects. So I hope you check it out. That's makerbase.se. And yeah, that's all I got. Thank you again for having me, Jason. It was really fun to do Twig with you.
Anytime. It's always my pleasure. And
that's awesome.
Brian, thanks for pulling up Anthony Nielsen, creator of This Week in Google's new logo on MakerBase, because he is a creator, and that's what MakerBase is all about. Cool stuff. Aaron, what you working on? What you got?
I'm going to go check out MakerBase. That is so cool. Yeah. I'm totally into it. Yeah, that's an awesome resource.
Thank you.
I'm so excited. I forgot what I was going to say. So obviously you can follow me here on the Twit Network. We mentioned it earlier. I do shows like Floss Weekly, All About Android, another good show that you might want to check out. This Week in Google and all kinds of other things. So definitely check me out on those shows. And I also am president of a little place called Benicia Makerspace. Which is a lot of fun. So that's a place if you're not local to Northern California, San Francisco area, look in your local area or nearby, see if you can find a makerspace or a hackerspace, because it's a great way to get involved and just start learning essentially about things that maybe you're an expert in, or there's new things going on, or maybe it's something you just want to pick up. Like some of the classes that are coming up at Benicia Makerspace, for example, Welding 101, something we're doing tonight actually, and we do that once a month. Aquaponics, we're doing an aquaponics setup so that we can demonstrate what aquaponics is for people that are interested. Make your own bacon. That's right. It's not just about technology. Bacon. It's about bacon. Nice. Everything's about better with bacon.
Yeah.
So we made our own bacon. Fact. And then Padre's going to come help us do a drone meetup. So we're going to do we're going to talk about drones, and he graciously volunteered to come up and talk about drones with people. People can bring their own drones, or if you don't know anything about drones, you can just come and learn. He's going to let people fly them around. It's going to be a lot of fun. So he's making a special trip up to the Makerspace to talk about drones. So anyway, if you're in the local area, we've already got a couple of Twit fans that have become members actually, that found out about it through the Twit network. So if you're in the local area and you want to join up with a great Makerspace, come join us, or find one in your own local area. I highly recommend it.
Nice. Excellent. Always so much fun having you.
Yeah,
on.
definitely.
Brian, normally I throw to you at the end of All About Android, but you're on This Week in Google, so...
Yeah, I'm having flashbacks to last night. It's just like a different color scheme or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so Aaron mentioned Padre. I do a show with him on Thursdays. Like he said, a lot of it is quadcopters, which are pretty awesome, but we do a bunch of other how-to stuff, so check that out on Thursdays. And if you go to about.me/Brian Burnett, you can find all the other places that I'm at on the internet.
Radical.
And deal with it.
Yeah.
Deal with
There we go.
Does it work with 2 pairs of glasses?
As long as the front glass is bigger than the back glass, but that worked. Wow. That works almost a little too well. You can find me about.me/Jason Howell. I also do other shows on the Twit Network, All About Android, twit.tv/AAA. Also do Android App Arena every Wednesday, featuring 4-ish Android apps that I think are neato, and that's twit.tv/arena. And then if you want to listen to music that I've made, you can. It's yellowgoldmusic.com. Haven't made any in a really long time. I need to do that again. But that is it. It's always so much fun hosting This Week in Google, and I just want to give a big thanks to Leo for letting me fill in while he's out, because I just have a blast doing this. This Week in Google records every Wednesday around 1 p.m. Pacific, maybe a little later than that, but depends on the schedule. 4 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UTC. And you can always find pre-recorded or past recorded episodes at the site, and that's twit.tv/TWIG, twig. Thank you so much for watching this week. We'll see you next week. Leo will see you next week on This Week in Google. Bye, guys.
Bye.